For the following exercises, find a domain on which each function f is 1 to 1 and increasing. Write the domain in interval notation. Then find the inverse of f restricted to that domain. So the domain where the function is 1 to 1 and increasing. So the reason this is important, and even being asked in this question, is because this particular graph is, of course, a parabola because of the square, and everything shifted over to the left 1 unit. So I move everything to the left, and then I have this parabola right here. Now, the problem with this is that this particular function is not 1 to 1. And we have to have a 1 to 1 function in order to be able to define an inverse function. So, what we are going to do is then restrict the domain. So in this case, if I restrict the domain to only values bigger than 1, then I don't have any of these parts to the graph at all. But that's okay because this graph happens to be perfectly symmetric about each side. So I'm going to restrict my domain to only the values starting with -1 and going to positive infinity. That leaves me a 1 to 1 function. Now the inverse is going to be, well, let's see. We have y equals x plus 1 quantity squared. And in order to figure out what the inverse is, I swap the x and the y values, y plus 1 quantity squared, take the square root of both sides. So now technically this becomes the plus or minus square root of x equals y plus 1. Except for the fact that I'm restricting to everything that results in positive square roots. So this is only the positive side, which means I don't have to worry about that -1. All right, so all I'm going to do then is subtract 1 from both sides. So that means I have -1 plus the square root of x is equal to y, so that my f inverse of x, which I'll just put here, is, we'll say, square root of x minus 1.